Hello, we are going live. This is YouTube, our YouTube channel.
Well, hello everyone.
And now I got to get us hooked up on Facebook here for a moment. So I'm going to do that here.
There we go.
We're excited to share with you guys some really cool stuff in just a moment.
Yes.
Once I can figure out how to do
It's
this
all right.
for
You
Facebook.
go ahead and do that.
I think.
I'll keep talking.
Okay, here we go.
It's good to catch up from our end. Obviously, we're not catching up from your end, but we love the comments you all make and the insights we get into your lives from the comments over the years. And we are excited. I think some of you already know one major part of our update is we're doing this from Nashville, Tennessee. We began the year last year. We began in California. This year, we began it in Nashville, Tennessee.
I hope we're live on both. Yes. Okay.
Does it
Facebook
confirm?
and YouTube.
All right.
Technology. Yeah, so as Johnny was just saying, we are in a whole new situation, setting everything since this time last year. Lots of changes, and we're looking back over 2019, and it's just definitely been a year of a lot of change and a lot of growth. And I can say for me, like, I am genuinely more excited about what God is doing in our lives, and specifically what he's allowing us to participate in terms of for us ministry and just what's going on globally. It's just it is absolutely amazing, the things that we get to share with you guys today. So excited about it.
Yeah, the global scene, it can be misread. There are challenges all around, but it's truly a breakthrough of the ages time that we are in. We'll see that looking back to this time, this year, last year, especially. These years right now are I believe, the hinge of the ages, and we will look back and we are noticing it as well. 2019 was an unbelievable year. That the things that the Lord took us to and through, and is still in the process of doing it. It's amazing, and you have some on that.
A big word for me is intentionality. And when I see God being intentional with us, collectively as a society, and allowing things to become more clear what's actually happening, and then also individually, when I see the intentionality of God towards me and my family, I get excited, I feel encouraged, and anyway, 2019 was definitely a year of change and growth. And so what I was thinking we would do is, first of all, very quickly, like a really important announcement that we wanted to make is about our Israel tour coming up. And then we'll touch on some updates related to our family specifically, and then updates related to the ministry. So do you want to tell them a little bit about Israel?
So the dates, we're calling it the David Tour, August 1 through 11 of 2020. And, you know, we had a most amazing Israel tour last year. I think we had 60-something people. And if we could bottle that and repeat it, we would. We're not trying to repeat it. We're adding some different sites, and we're really emphasizing David on this tour. We're going to go to the site where David and Goliath met as well. And we just believe it's going to be a time of significant breakthrough.
Where they met.
Where they met. Where they met, and one did not have a happy ending. And so they, right there in the valley of Elah. And so, we were, a few years ago, it was just amazing to be there. When I was there, it just brought it all home in another way. But, Israel in 2020 and being at the scene of David and Goliath, not that may be the highlight. I feel like the Lord's going to do some amazing things there, destroy some personal Goliaths people have as well. And I just feel to encourage you, when we need a vehicle, like your car breaks down, at some point you just say, I need a car. And you don't totally figure it out economically. Once you need it, you just need it. Ask the Lord. ask the Lord, do you need to go to Israel? And then do what it takes to do so. And we still have room, and we're not going to take a huge crowd. You know, we have a cutoff point if it gets too big, and so we would really like you to be with us, and we want you to feel like you're sent by the Lord, by the Holy Spirit. That it's not just doing an Israel trip. We make it very different than just kind of being wore out on tours for those who've done Israel a lot, and so there's more details we have on.
And any age is welcome. I think that's what made it so special last year. Is we had a huge variety of young adults and all the way up through people our age and older, and everyone was able to keep up. Everyone had just a time of their life, literally. And
life-changing, and really we were surprised that millennials and Gen Zs, they were the ones that after the tour most with tears and impacted, and like, my generation needs to do this, it just changes everything.
Yeah.
So we want to be aware, and we're bringing that up because even if sometimes finances can be a challenge for the next two generations, but if there's a way you could either bring the next generation or maybe help somebody go in your family or whatever.
So although it's August 1st through 11th, the deadline for registration is really soon. I'm not sure what that is off the top of my head, but if you go to our website, restore7.org, immediately there'll be a pop-up where you can click on it, and it'll take you to learn more about all the details of the tour and the prices and etc. So details are there. I'm just going to tell you a little bit about our family and how all of us are doing. The quick answer is awesome, and we're just so happy with where all of our family are. Johnny and I are sitting in a cute little apartment in Nashville because we are in the process of purchasing some land and building a home. We hope that's the goal, and God's helping us so far do that. And
looks like it'll take us over a year, so we're enjoying this.
So it's our first time as empty nesters, and even the dogs are gone right now. We have two little dogs, but they're visiting two of our daughters who live very near here. So highlights: our youngest, Glory, graduated from high school at the end of last school year, and when we moved here to Nashville, she moved to Atlanta. So we have two of our daughters in Atlanta now, our oldest and our youngest, and Glory's taking kind of like a gap year, I'd say. We're not like technically counting a year, but she's still really asking God what is next for her. Like two of her other sisters and myself, she was diagnosed with Lyme disease, and so although the one thing she's doing that she's so enjoying this year is competitive cheer. It's like a club level cheer. It's really intense. She's also sick a lot, and your immune system can be down when you have Lyme disease. So that's kind of her full-time thing right now. And God's doing a lot in her life, and she's actually going to be going through a life planning session with some friends of ours that do that, and just discovering more of what God's put in her next, if she's going to go to college or if she's going to do a trade school. So anyway, we're super proud of her. Grace is our second youngest daughter, and Grace lives here in Nashville. She and Justice, our two middle daughters, live in a complex really near here, and they are both doing well, but Grace has probably been the most sick out of all of us with Lyme disease. Justice had the endometriosis and the major surgery, and it took her a long time to recover from that. But in the process, Grace started getting more and more ill with Lyme disease symptoms. So Glory is actually about to have the treatment for Lyme. She gets her blood drawn for that actually this week, and then in a few weeks she'll get the IV that, I won't go into all the details of that, but anyway, but Grace already had her. She was the first to get that treatment, and it's considered by by the US standards, experimental treatment, but yet it's the only treatment that we could find in all of our research from the medical side, the natural side, and everything that is proven actually cures Lyme disease. Grace, they take a blood test and they take the most precise blood test that checks for Lyme disease. And they draw your blood, they send it to a lab in Greece. So it's not covered by insurance. But anyway, Grace was the first to have it, and she had it the worst, so it took her the longest for it to kick in and work. But we just in the last few weeks got back blood work for Grace, and it shows that the Lyme bacteria is completely gone out of her system. She has a few symptoms that she's still working on that they're kind of residual effects of an immune system being down for so long, but it's kicking in and she's feeling better. She has energy for the first time in a couple of years. She can go for a day or two without pain. And anyway,
which has been a novelty, new thing for her.
It's been, frankly, one of the hardest things our
Yeah.
family has gone through is watching her suffer and not be herself.
Pain every single day, yeah.
She's a really strong young woman. It's absolutely phenomenal, but we're so relieved that this is working.
Do we want to tell people the name of the place? Is there anything wrong
The
with
Genesis Center
In Atlanta,
in
Georgia.
Atlanta. There's several clinics evidently in the U.S. that work with this lab in Greece. And I'll tell more about that in just a second, but back to our girls. So Grace is working full-time for Restore 7, and she's had to work a lot of days from the bed, which has worked for us and for her, but she's our administrative assistant. She covers all the shipping and our travel schedule, our emails, just anything you can think of that an administrative assistant would do with us. Okay, Justice also lives here in Nashville with Grace. She also works for Restore 7. As I said, she continued to recover from the endo surgery at the beginning of last year. And then, then she was able to see, okay, the symptoms that were left were clearly Lyme disease symptoms. So Justice also, in comparison to how sick she was, she's felt great, but we know she's not 100% yet.
Yeah,
so she just had her Lyme treatment about 2 months ago. And usually around the
Takes a
third
while.
month is
Yeah.
when it kicks in and your body begins to notice a difference. So we're praying that she will start to see breakthrough with the Lyme disease symptoms soon. But in the meantime, if you haven't heard by now, she, as soon as we moved here to Tennessee, she entered into the Miss Tennessee pageant in the Miss USA system. There's two systems, Miss America system and Miss USA system. The Miss USA system is the one that goes to Miss Universe. It's the one that President Trump used to own years ago. Sometimes people don't know the difference. So she ended up, do you want to tell them?
Well, I'm sure most know, but she won Miss Tennessee and Miss Tennessee USA, and it was an amazing thing. And so she is on to Miss USA, which they haven't given the exact date, but over the next 2 or 3 months, sometime it's supposed to happen, and so she's preparing for that, and that would be exciting. And
we'll try to let you guys know in advance in case anybody wants to watch on TV and cheer her on.
And I think if on our Johnny and Elizabeth page, if they hit the video part, they would find there's a short little video of her winning and all that.
Yeah,
and
so exciting.
Part of this, it's exciting, and it looks like it's if you don't understand things in the spirit realm, the way things work, it's also what she's preparing for. It's a different form of spiritual battling and warfare, and so the assignments against her clearly come for the task, and so as you feel to pray and cover her, do that. We'd appreciate it. Just for ongoing, she's amazingly brave and courageous and presses through all kinds of health challenges still, and so any kind of just prayer covering for her would be wonderful in these times.
And you might enjoy following her on Instagram
Yeah.
as Miss Tennessee USA and as Justice Enlow. She also had 2 other major things that are exciting for this year. One is that she launched her nonprofit called Justice for Women, And so I think you can follow that on Instagram as well, Justice for Women. And she is very passionate about the injustice related to diagnosing and treatment of endometriosis for women. So she does a lot around that work. She's going to be raising funds to help women get a specific kind of surgery like hers that was not covered by insurance. So many of you helped pay for that, and how do you even thank somebody for that? We're just beyond grateful, and she is too.
We are really.
But Justice for Women is also about redefining modern feminism, which I think is so cool. She will explain that better than we do. So if you're interested, go to her website, Justice for Women, I think justiceforwomen.org. And the other really big thing that happened in her life this last year is she fell in love with an amazing man. His name is Chris Keel, and we have fallen in love with Chris too. He's just already like part of the family, and something interesting kind of unfolded as soon as they started dating. We saw this potential match between not just what God seems to be doing with Chris and Justice, but also Chris is a very high capacity, extremely talented young man who loves Jesus, has a powerful relationship with the Holy Spirit, has so much business background, and then this creative side to him, and a lot of background in areas related to ministry, related to literally building apps, which we're doing right now. It was kind of just in our face that we needed to look at this opportunity. So Chris has been hired by Restore 7 as an interim COO, and we're looking at making potential long-term plans with him, but we want to make sure that it's a good fit. So far he started in January, and man, we've just taken off and been able to already run with so much because of his wisdom and insight, expertise. So anyway, that's a big one. Back to our family. Promise and Justin, as I said, Promise, our oldest daughter, lives in Atlanta with her fiance, Justin, and she is a full-time esthetician at a high-end med spa in Buckhead, which is a suburb of Atlanta. And we love it. We love going there. She gives us facials sometimes, and she loves what she's doing. She worked really hard to get to where she is, and it's been fun to watch her career grow. And if you live in the Atlanta area, consider going to her. She has very reasonable prices for all the things they do at a med spa.
Yeah, and she says she can help me look younger. So I said, when I need that, I'll do that.
Right. And Justin, Promise's fiance, her significant other, we adore him, and it's been fun watching his art career bloom. He is anywhere from a street artist, like you can literally drive through downtown Atlanta and see these huge murals. They have different areas where Atlanta likes for people to do the graffiti artists. So he took us to do that one day, and it was really fun. We did it as a family. He also does other kinds of art, and then that's part of his professional work right now too, as a graphic designer, and more than what I'm saying, but we love that about him. Promise, I'm excited because she is starting just for fun on the side to do a little bit of recording, and she has a friend that's really talented that she's been working with, so we can't wait to hear what comes out of that for her. And then lastly, our son Enric and his wife Whitney, they are still living in LA, back near where we moved from. We recently got to go and meet our grandson.
Yeah, it was fun.
Malik, and he is just, of course, perfect, and we miss him so bad. We miss all three of them. We are super proud to say that last year we were able to legally adopt Enric as our legal son, and he's been like a son to us for many years. And more recently, he came to us, I don't know, a year and a half, 2 years ago, around then, and said, I know you offered this to me years ago, but I think I'm ready. And so we went through the process and literally went to the judge in a court and adopted him. And So I love it. I love it that he's able to tell his son that.
Not just that we're like grandparents, but we are as grandparents.
Yeah.
And then the day we got to LA this year was a privilege because that was the day Enric became a U.S. citizen. And not tied into, we didn't have to do it. He was going to get that anyway on his own merit. And that was great as well.
Yeah, it was really cool to be a part of that and get to witness that. So we're proud of Enric also because he recently worked super hard and God just gave him so much favor. He is now officially a partner with New York Life in LA. He'd been working with that company for a couple of years and ended up getting to that level of associate partner, if I'm saying that correctly, I hope, as a financial planner. And then Whitney is back to working, I think at least part-time now, and it's awesome because she's able to work from home while she takes care of Malik, and she works for an online company as their customer service representative and doing some social media and that kind of thing for them too. So we love and miss them as well. But our family's doing well. Just one last wrap up with the whole Lyme disease thing. So I am last. I am so excited about finding a new normal for my body physically after getting Lyme treatment. I have not been able to get the Lyme treatment yet because...
you put yourself last in the queue.
Well, we raised the money for the other 3 girls, and we are left with mine now, and we need... between 5,000 and 7,000 left to do that. Unfortunately, Johnny also has to get tested. He is not happy about that, but it is possible that it would be transmitted from husband to wife, wife to husband, and so we don't want to have me get treated and get rid of the bacteria and then re-get it from him. So evidently you can be a carrier of it and not have symptoms. His health is great,
Right,
and there's no reason for us to believe that he has it other than, and it's something that the CDC and the general medical community knows a lot more about than they're willing to say and go on the record for. But it's
starting to a little bit now.
It's very, it's as proven as it needs to be for me that it is passed in utero. We have 3 of our 4 daughters. The 4th daughter didn't get tested, but 3 of the 4 had it and have symptoms from it and everything. So a lot of people ask, well, how do you know you have Lyme disease or whatever? My whole life, I thought it was normal. When I was little, I thought it was growing pains. And I would just ache all over. And I just kind of grew used to it. And then when I had kids, I thought it was because I'm tired, I'm standing on my feet all day or whatever. And then the more I learned about Lyme, the more I realized, wow, I don't have to live like this. I can get rid of the pain that I'm used to living in. And I've had other things go wrong in my body related to my thyroid and hormones that I'm on top of, but if I can get the Lyme bacteria knocked out of my body, it will also help those other areas, and I won't have to live in pain every day. So I wake up pretty much hurting every morning. I get moving and everything, and it gets a little better through the day, and then kind of will settle back in at night. Unlike my daughters, I haven't had low immune system, so I don't get sick easily like the normal colds and flu I don't usually get, but I do, and I don't have a lot of fatigue, but I do have, what was I gonna say? Oh,
brain fog?
Yes, brain fog. That's exactly what I was gonna say.
But for other people, we have found out, like Grace was pretty severe, the pain daily, and your immune system can suppress it and you can have symptoms. So you may know people that are bedridden from, and it's not out of the question to be bedridden every day.
Honestly, there are people that die from complications from Lyme disease. So
not to scare you. And
it's
a lot of things that get called something else end up being that fibromyalgia and chronic fatigue and other things like that. Some estimate 50% of the nation actually has it. There's a whole sinister component of that. But we're not here to declare its greatness.
So if you want to find out more about it, you can go. The clinic that I go to honestly doesn't have a lot on their website about it, and I don't know if that's intentional or not. But if you call the Genesis Center, the genesiscenter.com or .org in Atlanta. Speak to the new patient coordinator. They can give you information about the therapy that they use for Lyme disease. And if you are willing to contribute towards our GoFundMe, that will help me pay for the treatment that we're getting. That would be amazing.
It would be amazing.
You can go to the GoFundMe website and then just search Enlow, our last name, and it should come up under that. Okay, so we're going to switch gears and talk to you about Restore 7 updates. You want to tell them where we went last year on the other side there?
Yeah, we had to write it down because there's so many. We may have forgotten some.
So this is kind of the year in review and then what we're looking ahead to in 2020.
So, and we didn't even include just except to restate it right now. So we drove cross country from California to Nashville, Tennessee as well. But we also traveled to Oregon, to Georgia, to Texas, to Washington, to Florida, to Washington, D.C. a few times, Guatemala, Peru, Israel, Brazil, Chile, Colombia, Uganda, Ecuador, California, all of those for ministry purposes, and again some others.
And Colorado and Kansas City.
Oh yeah, forgot to add those. We kept remembering after the fact places we had gone. So Kansas City, we don't know if to call that Kansas or Missouri. Who claims it? Is Kansas City Kansas or is Kansas City Missouri? Okay, anyway.
I think the thing that I'm the most excited about 2019, all those trips were amazing. Each one we have stories. In fact, you should tell a story from Uganda. But do you want to do that before I?
Sure, I'll just do the quickest thing because that was a highlight. There were so many. I mean, we had so many amazing trips going to Brazil together and who we interacted with and what the Lord did there. But we were invited, or I was invited.
I didn't go to Uganda.
Yeah, actually, she could have gone as well, but to Uganda, invited by the president and parliament for, the equivalent. It's under the same. It's the breakfast,
National Prayer Breakfast.
National Prayer Breakfast, and they've had it for 20-something years. And the president is he's a believer. His family are believers as well, and so I was able to give I was the keynote speaker for the breakfast, and they had dignitaries from other nations as well, and it was received tremendously. The president followed me and said, "Wow, we did not get that from the missionaries," and he asked if I could put that message in a little booklet that he would get out to the whole nation. He said, "This is what we're going to be about," which is that's the message of Reformation, salt and light in every area of society. And so then, for 3 days I was there. It was going in motorcade, presidential motorcade, kind of that, traveling everywhere, going to Parliament and going to their equivalent of the White House and the presidential house and the prime minister's home, and being with the minister of economy and meeting with several hundred of the tops of all the 7 mountains there. It was my first time in Uganda, and I didn't know. I was like, how does everybody know this message? And they announced themselves. We didn't have the whole Supreme Court in a place, and they would know what mountain they were at. And so, again, not to tell too much of the story, but they said, "We all know your book," and that was a 7-Mount Prophecy. And so they didn't even know about the follow-up books yet, but it was great, and we were excited about it. And there's there's so many side stories I want to go into, but I better not. It was.
The level of favor that he had was just amazing. We are excited about following up with what God's doing in Uganda and really stewarding that relationship well. So we will hopefully have some follow-up stories related to that soon.
So much there.
So during 2019, one thing became clear to Johnny and I. We found that we were in this transition of we could continue doing what we're doing, which is primarily writing and creating content for reformers and traveling, speaking, mentoring people that are in influential places. And we felt the Lord begin to challenge us with even just some of the prophetic things that he'd been showing Johnny for other people, which is think long-term, think legacy, think about something that doesn't count on the rapture happening in your lifetime. Think about hundreds of years, over the next 100 years. What do you want to do? What impact and legacy do you want to leave? So we decided to say yes, and we said, okay, God, we want to partner with you to grow something that's bigger than the two of us, that will outlive the two of us. And as soon as we did that, it was just so cool how God brought these relationships into our lives of people that had a sense of strategic understanding of how to take what Restore 7 was, and number one, figure out what's in God's heart for Restore 7 as it relates to being bigger than the two of us and outliving the two of us. And he showed us something that was really cool, and this is how we've written it down. Restore 7 is a global media and communications enterprise echoing a new narrative in the earth. Echoing a new narrative in the earth. And the new narrative is that God is good. He cares. He has solutions for every single problem that's in every area of culture, in every nation. And he wants to partner with sons and daughters who know that he cares and that they want to care too, and they want to use their intimacy with him to bring those solutions and the goodness of God, the love of God in practical, tangible ways. So that's the new narrative. And if you think about echoing a new narrative, if you're on a mountain and there's like mountain ranges all around, and you shout out from one mountain, it's going to echo off the mountains around, and it'll be a unique sound going out from each mountain, or each part of the mountain range. And so I kind of have that picture in my mind that as we come alongside people who are willing to partner with God in each of these 7 areas of culture, we're helping create this echo of this new narrative in the earth. He's good, he cares, he loves us, he has solutions, and we can be light, we can be salt. So as soon as we kind of wrapped our hearts and our heads around that, several things began to unfold. Number one, we already had 2 huge projects that we were committed to and that are going to be unfolding this year, and those became even more clear why we were doing them. One is our first documentary that we hope is the first of many documentaries. We hope that our intention is to, in time, launch a production company and just put out documentaries that tell the stories, that tell the narrative of what God's doing in different nations and in different areas of culture. This first one is about Peru, and we can talk about that in a minute. The other big project that we were already committed to, but that we just got turbo behind it after we had this bigger picture understanding of something outliving us, is Rise, the global community called Rise. And I'll talk about that more in a minute too. But a few other things became more clear. One was that our existing publishing company, we have a publishing company, we don't really advertise it, but it's 7M Publishing. And so far we've just published some of our own books and resources. And we would like to build that out and begin to publish a lot of other authors who have something to contribute in each of the 7 areas of culture related to
Reformation.
A Reformation publishing company. And the other big thing is, it'll take too long to explain how it unfolded, but we are launching, raising up 7 new distinct nonprofits called Restore Government, Restore Family, Restore Education, Restore Media, Restore Economy, etc. There are going to be 7
for each
distinct
of the 7
ones.
mountains, yes.
And so Restore 7 is already its own entity, its own nonprofit, and that will continue. But it will serve as kind of like an affiliation and an umbrella type organization to these 7 other ones, and they will be distinct in their own right, but Johnny and I will serve, at least initially, on as chairman of the board on each of these organizations. We've already filed the first two, Restore Government and Restore Family. Do you want to tell some about both of those?
Yeah, well, just briefly, Restore Government, and under it we have something called CCPL, the Christian Center for Public Life, and we were just in DC 2 or 3 weeks ago, and this is primarily something that is for training political leaders for Central and South America. If I showed the picture, it would be really impressive. We have an amazing staff there. Of all things, we have just a few blocks from the White House, we have officially an office, and we have a staff of highly capable presidential level trainers in government. And so we have, I think, 6 tracks for government that, and you can, again, I can't give you all the details. You can look up CCPL. What can they look at? What's the actual website? Well, they can go to our Restore.
Well, it's only in Spanish right now. The English
Is in
version of the
process.
website is in process.
But there's just in the last year, there's already been several presidential candidates or those going for president of their nations trained there as well. And we just formed a presidential council of 40-something people, and really people all of renown from Central and South America, people who are, they're the advisor to the president of their nation, or the congressmen or senators, or they're very successful in their own way, the top of the 7 mountains. And we had asked key people from nations, different nations, to be the underpinning for this, because there's a great awakening in Central and South America, especially among mega churches, mega ministries, that despite the fact that their church had a lot of people, they had like no influence. And so kind of the socialist leftist agenda that really has just devastated Venezuela, they see it trying to come in and do the same thing, like they're not learning the lesson quick enough. And so there's a realization, oh my goodness, we have to show up on the mountains. And one of the places they have to be trained for is the mountain of government. So it's a major project we have all on its own. That would be theoretically too big just for us, but that's just one thing going on. And what else was I going to tell?
Restore Family.
Restore Family, an amazing couple, Greg and Julie Gorman. They are an incredible couple. They have a ministry called Married with Purpose. Married for a Purpose. And you know, you'll be hearing more about that from us during the year as well. And but it's something just orchestrated by God, and they have some real important keys for rescuing couples. If we say rescuing couples, pulling you out of tailspins, marital tailspins, and by focusing on who you are in Him and what He originally designed you to do and be, rather than just where is your level area of impasse. But both of these things, and really some of the other things we're going to talk about, we should go ahead, and I feel it's a good time to bring it up, is it'll sound like, oh my goodness, y'all have been involved in so much strategizing in this, and we've been in all kinds of called strat-op meetings and things like that, but it's really, this past year has been incredible, and I think we want to say it because I think God's beginning to do this with many of you, where more felt like we were pieces, chess pieces, that God was moving us around and putting us and connecting us with people, and the great task at hand was not strategizing, it really was recognizing. And in recognizing, it was like, oh my goodness, look what He just put together. This whole thing, the Restore Government, which is really big. He just had us recognize it, be a part of it, be pulled into something, and he's put in the right partners and people, and that's awesome. And the same thing with Restore Government. So we're not
Restore Family.
Restore Family. Excuse me. So, and we just feel like that's something to be. You know, in fact, there's a little, I don't know, counsel, prophetic word teaching in there for you from that right now. Is this is a time the Lord is being, I believe He's playing chess, and so you want to be able to find out where He's positioning you, and that's the most important. And then after that, just recognize the relationships, everything the kingdom of God's built in relationships, with relationships, on relationships. The organic nature of the kingdom is what we really enjoy. marvelous kingdom comrades, and where we enjoy the process together. And so be ready for that in your own lives as we move forward.
So the idea with these 7 nonprofits, starting with our first 2, Restore Government and Restore Family, is to have multiple projects going underneath each one of them. So right now, what Johnny described to you, the Christian Center for Public Life, is just the first of what in time will be many projects that go on related to Restore Government. And Restore Government becomes the umbrella for each of those. But we don't want to unfold and unroll all of these so quickly that we can't keep up the pace and have a good, strong foundation laid. We're in the process of building a board for each one of those 2 first organizations, and really shoring up both of those executive directors that we've named for both of those. And we're excited about the relationships, all of it. And so it's unfolding at a good pace. We're not going to get ahead of the Lord in it, but our intention long term is to have 7 of these with multiple projects underneath each one. So, you want to say a little bit about the Peru documentary?
Yeah, for those who don't know anything in that direction, I was born and raised in Peru, South America. My parents were missionaries there. And so we have a story of how the Lord used us, and we were catalytic in some way. Enough so where we were called into Congress last year and given a diploma of honor for our work in Peru. But Peru in the year 2000 had a 90% extreme poverty rate. It was identical with Haiti. It has always been 90%, or it's just ever since they've been doing not just poor, but extreme poverty. And it is now, it's called the Peruvian miracle, the Peruvian economic miracle, and it's down to 2.5%, from 90% to 2.5, and most of that was just in a short period. And again, the Lord, our role in it, that the Lord graced us with, will be forthcoming in a few months. Some video will be 35, 40 minutes, and we're really, really excited about it, not because it brags on us, but it brags on God. The message we try to tell all the time: we have a good God, we have a big God. He'll do big things, and he'll do big things, particularly if you'll stand in the gap in some kind of way and believe him. Will you believe not just that he wants to save people before it all falls apart or whatever, but can you contend towards Habakkuk 2:14, the whole earth being filled with the knowledge, the glory of God as the waters cover the sea. And so we believe the documentary really feeds that narrative and the overall narrative of everything we're talking about, Rise and all that.
Yes, Rise. So I have been working with a team and a company that we hired to build an app. And Rise is not an app. Rise is a global community that is facilitated within the context of an app. And the app is coming out later this year. We're not going to say when yet because we're still doing beta testing, and we don't want it to, we want it to be ready, and we don't want it to crash and all those good things. So we cannot wait to tell you what all it does. We've given a little teaser on our website called rise7.org, rise, the number 7.org. And you are going to be able to connect with reformers like yourself all over the globe. You're going to be able to search for individuals and search for hubs that can exist either online or in a public place like a church or a coffee shop. And these are going to be organic groups, organic relationships. We know what happens when people that get together, speaking the same language, contending for the same thing, with the same destiny and purpose, get together. Holy Spirit does like huge things. You'll be able to discover that and have fun meeting people that you have that much in common with. But here's what you got to do. You want to go ahead and fulfill the one requirement for being a part of the global community, and that is either read our new Rise handbook or go through the online Rise video course that's 7 hours and 7 minutes long.
Just happened to me.
Accidentally. And you can find both of those, access to both of those through our rise7.org website. And at the end of the course and at the end of that book, you'll find a code, And as soon as the app comes out, you'll be able to put that code into the app and you'll immediately be an active member because you will already be ahead of the game. You will have done the one requirement. So if you've never read the book, we might have to grab one here in a second to show you. If you've never read the Rise book, also if you've never read Johnny's last book, Renaissance on the Seven Mountains, that book is such a phenomenal read. Like, it's a must read for everyone who really understands the importance of bringing change to of bringing change to culture. Is there anything else I should tell them about Rise? We're going to roll out Rise, the Rise Global Community, nation by nation. So we will definitely start here in the U.S. pretty soon. We're looking at starting with
Look, it comes out backwards.
Aruba as maybe our test, nation. It's this beautiful little island nation, so it would be a great nation to start with. We have 3 nations in South America, which are Peru, Colombia, and Chile, which we're probably going to also start simultaneously. The book and the course are already available in Spanish, and the app is going to have a toggle in there where you can switch it from Spanish to English, either way.
We're going to roll it out for, I don't know if the toggle will be from Portuguese from Brazil as well.
It might be a phase 2, the Portuguese, but we are in the middle of making those decisions. It has been such a blessing to have Chris Keel, our new interim COO, helping with all of this. He has done this before, and he's quickly caught up with all we've been working on. And so just on a personal level, for the first time in a lot of years, I'm seeing the light at the end of the tunnel. I've tended towards being more...
Well, the weight of it's fallen on you to get the stuff done.
He's like the visionary, and I'm like the legs to it, and I just can't wait to get back into that place where I can get into more writing and content. That's really where my heart is, but I'm also very honored to serve in this way. I guess I've kind of served in a CEO type role the last couple of years, and as Chris takes on more and more, I'll be able to let go of more too. So, whew. That's the segue into, I was just going to tell you very quickly our current Restore 7 team. So we have Johnny and I, we have Chris Keel, our interim COO. I wanted to mention also that Chris has worked for the last couple of years with a couple that we absolutely adore, John and Daryl Myers. And we met them years ago through their son, Kalev Myers, who is a big deal in Israel. But they live here in the States. They were pastors of a Messianic congregation for years in Jerusalem. And then they transitioned. God brought them here to the United States. And over the last couple of years, Chris has been working very closely with John in particular, and they rolled out the most phenomenal free, I can't believe it's free, course called The Israel Story. You can go to theisraelstory.com, I think. It might be .org. It's red and black. You'll easily recognize it when you find it. The Israel Story. And it's a free course. Chris is going to continue to represent John and Daryl in that way. We always want Israel to be front and center as it relates to Reformation, as it relates to anything Restore 7, and each of these 7 nonprofits. So we're excited about continuing our relationship with the Myers and with the Israel Story and seeing where we can find common ground. We've even toyed around with the idea of one day having an office, a Restore 7 office or representative in Jerusalem. It's just really important to us. So we're excited that Chris is on board with us, but that he's also continuing to represent the Israel Story and John and Daryl Myers. Grace, we already told you, Grace is our administrative assistant. Back to our Restore 7 team. Justice is... Since she won Miss Tennessee, she's had to switch to very part-time hours. So she is doing all of the branding, the design work, and graphics, websites for these new organizations. And she's done a great job with
Some
that.
level of social media as well.
And Grace is going to be transitioning, doing more of the social media moving forward. Then we also have Benjamin Camp, who is our CTO, Chief Technology Officer. He and Emily have been just invaluable as it relates to rolling out Rise. They helped us
and Rise,
get all of that going, and he ongoing maintains all of our technical things related to the website and the app, etc. We have a gentleman, a young man that we love. His name is Abe Salazar, and he lives in Lima, Peru. He is bilingual, and he does all of our Spanish social media and does all of the translation of our material, a lot of our material into Spanish.
He just translated, for instance, your book, God in Every Season. I'm doing the last read through on it, and we're going to have that available in Spanish.
Yes. And we also have Levi Boucher, who hopefully some of you are familiar with because he is our partner liaison, and he works alongside of those of you that are monthly partners, also some of our other donors that invest heavily into Restore 7, and he's always available for prayer and for, sometimes people just love to ask someone with a prophetic gifting to pray and see if God gives them anything encouraging for them. That is Levi. He is such a gifted prophetic voice and loves to do that for our partners. So
he accompanied me into Uganda, and he was a great blessing there. So.
Yeah, he travels some with us as well.
And Israel, yes.
So then we also, and Levi lives in South Africa, which we're kind of all over the globe now.
Yeah.
Benjamin and Emily live in Orlando area. And okay, so back to our team. We have recently had a transition of our accountant, Art Druckenmiller, and we just want to take a minute to really honor him. Art has served, he first served Daystar Church that we pastored for many years, and then when we transitioned out of the local church into Restore 7, he came along with us and continued to do all of our bookkeeping and accounting and tax, donation, receipts, all of that. He's been
amazing.
Such a servant, such a man of excellence, a man of integrity. We just can't honor him enough. He's been such a blessing. I was really dreading this time where he was going to transition out of doing all of that for us and bringing someone in.
Caring more for grandchildren.
Yeah, but he's made the process so smooth, and we miss you, Art, if you're watching this.
Yes.
We miss having excuses to interact with you more often. But we have, in his place, hired Trey Gunn, who is our new CFO, and his company does all of our accounting and our tax donation receipts, all of that moving forward. I don't think he did this year, but he will next year. And we love working with him already. He is out of Sacramento, California. Yeah. He happens to also be, I think, CFO for Jesus Culture and some other organizations, so we share him. Brock Sheinen is also a friend and our new attorney, and we're excited to have him on the Restore 7 team. You can imagine how much we need him now that we've got this app that's coming out. We've got these 7 organizations.
Well, both of them are greatly needed for everything that God's doing right now.
Yes. And so Brock, we're excited about introducing you to more of what he does. And he also is an author himself and speaker. So we want to, in time, we'll do an interview with him and let you learn more about what he brings to the table related to the Mountain of Economy specifically. All right, so that's our current Restore 7 team. We are looking to make some strategic hires this year. Probably a new, we'd love to have a new PA, if you know of anyone, a new PA come on board, even a couple that would come on board together who are bilingual, who speak Spanish and English.
Or at least one of them.
At least one of them. That would just be amazing. And who would work closely with Chris, with myself, and with Johnny. Grace is going to continue working with us, but we have more work than we can all cover right now.
If justice should happen to win Miss USA, we will lose her for not just part-time. She'll have no time to think available for us, right? For the following year.
Yeah. All right. And we're also looking to potentially make some strategic hires related to a couple of other areas. So we may be sending that out sometime if you want to learn more about what we're looking for. 2020 travel. We are headed to the UK, to Canada, to Aruba, Colombia, Chile, Brazil, Peru, Guatemala, Bulgaria, Dominican Republic, Israel, Pennsylvania.
The country, Pennsylvania.
Pennsylvania, we're going there, and we'll probably do in Atlanta and in LA a documentary premiere there in those two cities at least. And we're, generally speaking, we're open to going to some more places in the US, but we're being very strategic the next couple of years where we're not just going to churches and conferences where we're typically invited. We're really trying to prioritize our time for rolling out the Rise Global community in specific regions. So, we look at any invitation, we pray about any invitation, but that's where we keep kind of finding ourselves.
Let me just say, because the schedule is really essentially full for the year, but 1 or 2 day events can sometimes be squeezed in.
Yes.
If it's just the right one, right location, everything just fits. So.
And I'm excited about, I don't know.
I say that because many of you have already told you that
we couldn't come.
When you've asked if we could come, I said, I'm sorry, the year is full. And it is. But there's the international thing would be really, really hard to fit in something else because that's not usually that easy to do. But sometimes, if it's a flight and it's 1 day, we might.
We may see about adding Australia in at some point this year or the first part of next year as well. So that's another nation we're looking at.
We know it
seems important soon. So with I'm out of God in Every Season, my book that I wrote by myself.
Been out for a while and everybody's loving it.
And I'm excited because when I get it reprinted and it's also available in Spanish, I want to roll out, I don't think I've told you this.
Probably some workbook you're going to say.
Well, that too, but I'd like to roll out a series of podcasts and interviews. I want to interview people that have stories to tell about what God's been doing in the different seasons of their lives related to the Seven Mountains and Reformation, and see this intersection between the season that they found themselves in and the difference that it made when they really embraced what God was doing in that season and their ability to have impact in the mountain that they're impacting. So I'm going to be reaching out to some of you for interview purposes. I'm excited about that. All right, we've been through a lot. I will tell you very quickly, if you are not a partner with us, a monthly partner, we love our partners. We love staying in touch and hearing about what's going on in your lives. We're going to be growing that area a little bit more. The Lord sent a man into our lives who is, he is what's called a chief development officer or a professional fundraiser. He has done fundraising on a high net worth level for organizations like Harvard. He raised funds, billions of dollars, for organizations like Harvard, and the Lord just has knit our hearts together, and he's come alongside of us, and he's been training us. He's been training our Restore 7 board and our board of advisors how to set up our organization and these 7 other nonprofits, set them up in a way that is appealing and would be something that philanthropists who are used to putting large amounts of money behind nonprofits and organizations, we're setting it up in a way that they'll be able to easily look and see, is this an organization that I would want to invest in and give generously towards. If we're going to grow something that's bigger than the two of us, that's going to outlive the two of us, we have to start thinking in terms of that level of partnership financially. And so we're working hard on the things that are required for an organization to be at that level of funding.
That's why, top of the line CFO, top of the line attorney, we want to do our part in being able to be those that people of resource would trust. And they was like, okay, there's going to be total transparency, accountability. We can see the books anytime. We want to be that. And it really is this gentleman is really he's a rock star in, not literally a rock star, but in that world. And he has told us, there's $140 billion a year, 140 billion, not million, that is given charitably to faith groups. And but what happens is if you have sort of just a makeshift, not high accountability or high transparency movement, that's not going to be something. And I'm telling this for other people's sake as well. But he also, he was drawn to us. He initially asked to meet with us because, and it's not for any funding he wanted out of it. He's like, nobody is doing what you all are doing. Reformation is still, it's an idea people are talking about, but very few doing it. And we really are more and more involved in actual reformation in multiple nations. And that's what we want to be a part, where we want, our primary is, to inspire with a message, but then begin to, as we're doing in Restore Government, is actually work with people, institutions in the training for each one of these areas. And so, meanwhile, we just, because it started with her talking about, we thank all of those of you who have been partners, are partners, and
when we sign our monthly statements to you guys, like it is so humbling, and so we just feel so honored. No matter what amount you give every month, we're honored that somebody would be willing to invest what's precious to them and what represents their time, their blood, sweat, and tears into something that we're a part of. And we're so grateful, and we're so committed to making sure that we steward well over every bit of the funding that comes in for Reformation.
And that's, I think, what I wanted to re-hit, just so you know, there is absolute transparency. There's a real board. There's oversight at every level. And not only that, again, people who give, that's why I was bringing up the point of the gentleman. He's like, there's nobody who understands that we have to change the systems themselves. That, it's great, all the ministries that do feed the homeless, feed the poor, dig wells, that should continue to happen all the time. But those are matters that are happening at the bottom of the mountain, so to speak. And it's the pollution from the top of the mountain that creates dynamics at the bottom of the mountain. So actually working towards reformation, he did not know one institution that was doing it. And so it was a passion of his to work with us on that. And so those of you, I just want to tell you, I thank you, and we believe you're sowing your seed. The Lord honors you recognizing good soil. And not that there's not other good soil, but we believe you are giving into and partnering with good soil. And we love the idea of partnering. One of the joys for us is that when we meet partners, we know partners, and even this thing that's now developing to a really expanded team of many, many people. It is so fun to do this together. And, the kingdom camaraderie aspect of it is one of the big joys for me.
One of the things I'm especially excited about the Rise Global community is after this really gets going and we have thousands of people on the app that are part of the global community, we're going to begin hosting our own regional Rise events. So you're going to be able to come and meet with other people, periodically. We're not calling them conferences, but they're going to be really creative, fun events, very relational, where you can we intend to have special times where we can connect with our partners even at those events. So if you have not joined our email list, we want to encourage you to do that. That's where you can make sure you don't miss any of Johnny's prophetic words or announcements that come up. We try not to send out too many emails. If you go to our website, restore7.org, click on subscribe, and you'll see a place where you can subscribe to our email list. You can join our podcast, our YouTube channel, which is Johnny and Elizabeth Enlow, our Instagram, Johnny and Elizabeth Enlow, our Facebook, I think it's the same thing. And one last thing, if you have to drive a lot, we have audiobooks. Most of our books are on audio, and you can hear us reading them and get through them when you're stuck in traffic or going a long trip. So we love all of you, and we're grateful for you, and we can't believe someone would take the time to just hear about all this. But I hope more than anything else, if you've only watched even a few minutes of this, that you have felt the excitement of what God is doing. And we are just honored to serve you and serve the kingdom in our lifetimes.
And announce a greater day.
Yep. All right, now I got to figure out how to turn this off.
And sorry for all, we weren't close enough to read all the comments, and that's terrible. At some point we'll figure out how to do both and say hi to those who have been commenting and interacting with us.
Let's see, I see Merta and Melody and Kelsey. Aw, Kelsey, hi.
There you go, you're seeing some right there.
I see a few right there. Hi, Holly. There's Holly, Barry, Constantino.
Oh, that's awesome.
We love you.
See, that reminds us of all our kingdom comrades as we see the names.
Yep.
So I like to see them.
All right.
Later. Say something there. We'll look at them later.
Absolutely.